The story commences with a man named VIKIR van Baskerville, who found himself condemned to the guillotine due to false accusations of associating with the demon clan. His head was secured with a pillory beneath the blade, awaiting his execution. During this moment, he pondered on his fate, deciding that if given another chance at life, he would not live as a hound, contributing to the downfall of the Baskerville family. In the nursery of the grand Baskerville family estate, VIKIR regressed to the form of a small child, finding himself unable to move freely. At first, he feared he might have been sent to hell. During this time, a man named Hugo Le Baskerville conducted an inspection of the babies, searching for any special child among them. Hugo noticed VIKIR, who appeared quieter than the others, and VIKIR began to realize that he had regressed to his childhood. In this new beginning of his life, VIKIR was determined not to live as a hound, as he had done in his previous existence, where he had been responsible for menial tasks to elevate the status of the Baskerville family among 7 families. Hugo gave orders to send the babies to the Cradle of Swords, a maze of swords through which all children had to pass. Additionally, there was a legendary river named Styx River, which turned the bodies of children into iron, albeit with a limited effect. VIKIR became the first one to successfully cross the maze of swords, astonishing everyone with his feat. He bravely leaped into the Styx River, where water seeped deep into his body, touching his cuts and bones. Despite the challenges, VIKIR held his breath for as long as he could. Hugo's butler, Barrymore, kept track of time and noted that it had been 7 minutes since VIKIR had jumped into the river. In a desperate attempt to become stronger, VIKIR drank from the river, causing him to drown and lose consciousness. Hugo rescued him from the water and asked his butler for the name of the child. If you like the content we create, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. In the past, VIKIR had been an exceptionally talented individual. At the age of 8, he displayed remarkable genius, although his family perceived him as ordinary. By the time he turned 20, he delved into missions involving assassination, espionage, and conquest. At 25, he had already reached the pinnacle of swordsmanship, and at 30, he led the invasion into the demonic realm, marking the beginning of the demon clan's onslaught. For 5 years, he endured the era of destruction, relentlessly slaying monsters. However, when he turned 40, his loyalty was repaid with false accusations and the unforgiving guillotine blades. As the baby regained his senses, it became evident that he had successfully passed the trials. That night, he overheard that someone named Madam had sent him a gift box. Only a select few in the Baskerville family were referred to as Madam, indicating great influence. The gift box revealed 2 deadly mambas, capable of wiping out the entire nursery. Fearlessly, VIKIR grabbed the snakes with his bare hands and killed them, leaving everyone shocked. The following morning, VIKIR was found sleeping peacefully alongside the 2 dead mambas. The nannies who were on duty that night faced execution and torture, but they remained steadfast in not revealing any names. 8 years later, all the children had grown up and were attending a class where they received instruction in different levels of swordsmanship. Their level of skill was determined by the mana they imbued into their swords. Beginners had none, experts had a little, graduators emitted mana as a liquid aura, and masters could solidify the mana. The only one in the Baskerville family who had achieved the rank of sword master was Hugo. Among the children were 3 boys named Highborough, Middleborough, and Lowborough, who attempted to bully VIKIR, claiming he lied about surviving 7 minutes in the Styx River. VIKIR remembered them from his past life when they had stabbed him while he was pursuing justice against defamation. One of the boys tried to choke VIKIR from behind, but they grew increasingly afraid as VIKIR remained unaffected. Determined not to endure the bullying this time, VIKIR bit Highborough's little finger. The Trident boys, now scared and no longer finding it amusing, became hesitant. Middleborough even struck VIKIR with a knife but failed to pierce his skin due to the iron-like effect of the Styx River. VIKIR decided to play along with them for the time being. VIKIR struck fear into their hearts, delivering a powerful punch to Middleborough, leaving both brothers severely injured. In a display of his superiority, VIKIR threw a knife on the ground before them, giving them a chance to decide who would escape unharmed. The choice of one person's safety was left to the Triton. Back at the mansion, Hugo requested reports on the children, learning that VIKIR had achieved the highest marks in the exams but had also been involved in the confrontation with the Trident boys, causing serious injuries to them. All of this was attributed to VIKIR's actions. VIKIR himself visited Hugo in his office, with the butler affirming that VIKIR had single-handedly disabled the 9-year-old triplets. As a result, there was now tension between the triplets. VIKIR justified his actions, proclaiming that strength could never be wrong and that forgiveness was merely a weak excuse for those incapable of seeking revenge. Hugo was intrigued by VIKIR's thoughts, as he, too, saw weakness as a sin. Hugo instructed his butler to allow VIKIR to take anything he needed from the food storage, enough to sustain himself. Additionally, Hugo urged VIKIR not to fail in the exam taking place in 5 days. Among the items VIKIR selected from the food stores, he chose the bloody beans, renowned for their rich aroma. While others believed it was due to VIKIR's fondness for chocolate, he harbored an evil smile, knowing he intended to employ the beans in the upcoming exam. In this world, the Baskerville family was known as the Baskerville Family, and their children underwent a rigorous early education. As soon as they could walk, they were required to run up a steep mountain and were not allowed to lie down except during designated rest times. To toughen them up, they had to sleep beside a monster corpse. At the age of 8, the young hounds faced their deadly evaluation, earning the family the title of the Baskerville Family. On this particular day, the young hounds gathered at Le Rough El Noir Mountain, an area on the outskirts filled with monsters. The instructor, a shadow dog named Pavlov van Baskerville, had instructed them to live in the mountain for a month and hunt down large and powerful monsters. To pass the exam, 2 conditions needed to be fulfilled apart from surviving the area, earning 10 points for successful survival and an additional 30 points if there were no disabilities. Failing others would yield 50 points, while defeating a monster would grant 70 points. Successfully fulfilling all the conditions would result in 90 points, and additional points could be earned by collecting badges from other participants. The highest score cannot be achievable was 100 points. The instructor warned everyone to stay in the designated area, as the Loom Mountain was full of undiscovered things and large monsters. Fearful glances were exchanged among the children, particularly towards VIKIR, whom they considered a significant threat in the exam due to his high marks. As the evaluation began, the children rushed to secure safe places, aware that there were no rules preventing them from harming one another, though it was discouraged as it led to point deductions. The shadow dogs present kept casualties to a minimum. One of the shadow dogs decided to surveil VIKIR, given his impressive exam scores. However, VIKIR spotted the shadow dog and cleverly lured it away while he constructed a shelter and dug holes in the outskirts. Bored with the lack of action, the shadow dog eventually left VIKIR alone. Little did they know that VIKIR had planned it all along. He set traps and used blood cocoa seeds to lure monsters, as the seeds emitted a fishy smell, attracting them. While exploring an unknown restricted area, VIKIR detected a burning smell, indicating the presence of a burning stool, a beast known as the Hellhound. The Hellhound was a monstrous dog from hell that brought horrific disasters, spewing fire from its body and mouth, capable of burning anything to ashes. In the past, when VIKIR was 18 years old, he had barely managed to defeat a single Hellhound. Now, at the age of 8, killing one seemed impossible. However, he had acquired knowledge that even a child could use to take down a Hellhound. Hellhounds had a few weaknesses. They could only move in one direction as changing direction was challenging for them, water slowed down their movements, and their mouths remained open when they jumped. Additionally, chocolate was poisonous to canines, including Hellhounds. The moment the Hellhound lunged at VIKIR, he skillfully threw a blood cocoa bean into its open mouth, which was shaped like a letter of chocolate, effectively mimicking the chocolate's appearance. Momentarily, the Hellhound fell to the ground, and fog began spewing from its mouth. The chocolate affected the Hellhound's stomach and heart, leading to kidney failure. VIKIR pierced its kidney with his blade, killing the monster and absorbing its energy, which was known as XP, a reward that made the hunter's body stronger. Since the Hellhound was a B+ rank monster, it resulted in an additional reward. VIKIR was determined to ask for a rare and valuable book whose true worth was unknown even to those in the era, including himself. Soon, VIKIR noticed a group of Hellhounds heading towards him, lured by the cries of the dead Hellhound. Thrilled by the opportunity for greater rewards, he decided to single-handedly take on all the Hellhounds. With swift and precise slashes of his blade, he instilled fear in the Hellhounds, surprising himself at their fearless nature. However, he realized the fear was not directed towards him but towards another monster lying beside him, a Cerberus. This Cerberus, a monster with an A+ risk rating, inhabited the 7th ridge, which was deemed impossible. The Cerberus cried out in pain, with multiple arrows and other injuries in its body. VIKIR found it intriguing and saw it as an easy prey he could overpower for an extra reward. Despite his young age, VIKIR had already mastered his swordsmanship to the level of an adult. Thanks to the effect of the Styx river, his body was strong. He rushed towards the Cerberus, thinking he could control the situation. But as he let his guard down, the Cerberus swiftly used its claws to bring VIKIR to the ground, causing him to spit blood and lose consciousness for a while. Feeling severe pain in his left arm from the Cerberus's attack, VIKIR knew he wouldn't be able to deliver another blow. Desperate to escape, he thanked the barbarian tribe for injuring the Cerberus earlier. Spotting an iron fence that marked the boundary of the restricted area, VIKIR made a beeline for it. The same location had served as his shelter during the initial days of the exam, and he recognized his trap symbols nearby. He jumped over the fence and waited for the Cerberus to approach. As the Cerberus rushed towards him, it fell into the pit filled with swords, known as the Cradle of Swords. VIKIR had earlier coated the wooden spears with blood cocoa essence, a poison deadly to Canid-type monsters like the Cerberus. He picked up a stick coated with deadly mamba venom and hurled it at the Cerberus. Taking calculated steps, VIKIR approached the dying monster, locking eyes with it until it breathed its last breath. He felt a sense of relief, having vanquished the prey within 7 steps, a testament to the deadly effectiveness of the mamba venom. VIKIR realized that the Cerberus must have been guarding a dungeon. He scattered the feces of the Cerberus to deter smaller monsters from attacking him. Using clues from the remnants left behind, he successfully tracked the location of the dungeon. Familiar with it from his past life, he knew it was a pitch-dark place, but he could sense the mana emanating from beneath its rotten surface. VIKIR's eyes sparkled with anticipation for the hidden treasures that awaited him. Within the walls of the dungeon, VIKIR's keen eyes caught sight of veins of ruby minerals, connecting it to the Red All Mountain. A bright light emanated from the end of the dungeon. In the center, VIKIR spotted a ruby imbued with a mana that spread light in every direction. As he explored further, he came across a skeleton with dried brown bloodstains. Upon closer examination, he found a letter beside the skeleton, revealing the tale of 2 brothers, Abel and Clan, who had ventured into this dungeon. They had fought for 3 long years, slaying countless monsters, hoping to unlock the final dungeon door. However, a riddle inside the dungeon caused them to turn against each other, and one brother was killed. Despite their efforts, the door remained closed, and in the end, the surviving brother left the dungeon, leaving the note behind. The riddle's answer was apparently in the stone, and VIKIR broke the stone to open the last dungeon gate. Once the gate opened, a peculiar sword named Beelzebub appeared. It was said that only someone with Baskerville's blood could possess this sword. VIKIR remembered seeing an illustration of a legendary monstrous flying named Gluttony Beelzebub during his past life as a child. This unprecedented great monster had invaded the continent, leading to the 7 calamities that old legends spoke of. In order to stop it, the 7 family heads, including the first Baskerville patriarch, fought against it. The remnants of Beelzebub were now stored within this sword, and it had fallen into VIKIR's hands. As VIKIR touched the sword, blood began to seep into his hand, leaving a red stain. He wondered how much stronger he would become in this life now that he possessed the Beelzebub sword. The potential power at his disposal filled him with anticipation and curiosity. After obtaining the power, VIKIR's entire body felt dizzy and on the verge of hunger. His senses heightened, and he found himself drawn towards the corpse of the hellhound that Beelzebub had pierced earlier. He began drinking its blood, as Beelzebub was said to possess the ability to absorb opponents' skills into itself. However, due to its hazardous nature, it could only steal up to 3 abilities. Through consuming the hellhound, Beelzebub gained skills like quick regeneration, burn injuries similar to the Cerberus, and the ability to cause hemorrhages like the hellhound. When the young hounds completed their practical examinations and returned to Baskerville, the entire family was astonished upon learning what young Master VIKIR had hunted. The butler explained that VIKIR had accidentally crossed into a restricted area during the practical examination and had hunted a Cerberus, an A+ rank beast. The name Van indicated that the Cerberus should have been hunted by someone with a name like Lou or L.A., implying a royal family member. However, the patriarchs declared that talent was not restricted to bloodlines, and they appreciated VIKIR's exceptional skills regardless of his heritage. VIKIR was summoned to Hugo's office, where he was asked how he managed to kill an A+ rank beast. VIKIR explained that he used chocolate as poison and shared this knowledge with Hugo, considering him his master. Impressed by VIKIR's resourcefulness, Hugo offered him a golden chance to make a wish. VIKIR asked for access to the 10,000-Iposal- library, the Empire's largest library, despite knowing that someone of his low bloodline would typically never receive such access. However, to VIKIR's surprise, Hugo immediately granted the request and even asked him to read the 6th technique of Baskerville. Hugo's current cultivation level was the Baskerville 7th technique. VIKIR's ultimate goal was to acquire the greatest essence of Baskerville, a book containing the first patriarch's technique. As VIKIR entered the library, he was met with a vast pile of books, each containing the Baskerville family's techniques from the 5th to the 7th forms. These books were strictly kept away from the hounds, the children who became part of the Baskerville family, as a defense mechanism to prevent them from challenging their master. VIKIR never imagined that Hugo would offer him access to the 6th technique books, something he couldn't have fathomed before his regression. Hugo knew that an 8-year-old wouldn't be able to memorize all the details of the swordsmanship techniques in a single day. In the Baskerville swordsmanship, each form was referred to as a tooth, with the first form as 1 tooth, the second as 2 teeth, and so on. However, VIKIR was uninterested in the 6th technique. The real reason he came to the library was to find miscellaneous books. Despite the guards suggesting he delve deeper into the library, VIKIR insisted he was done with those books and headed straight for the miscellaneous section. After an hour of searching, he stumbled upon a book titled A Lurking Ambush, which covered the basics of the first technique that Baskerville children typically didn't read. Unfortunately, some pages were missing from the book. VIKIR recalled finding a box in the past, containing a single page that mentioned the first technique. This box had 6 pages in total, scattered across 6 different clans, and VIKIR was the one who had initially found all the pages. Through these pages, he had learned the content of the 10th tooth of the Baskerville technique. Now, with the help of the A Lurking Ambush book, VIKIR could fill in the gaps and gather all the information about the original 10-tooth technique. He meticulously memorized the contents of the book. Though his current body was not in the same righteous condition as an adult's, he was still able to perform the 5th technique, albeit with lower power. When he performed the 5th technique, he broke the record in Baskerville's history, surpassing all previous achievements. VIKIR was elated, reaching the pinnacle of happiness for his ability to masterfully use the 5th technique. Finally, VIKIR succeeded in mastering the technique known as the 5th tooth. He was confident that with his increased mana capacity and improved liquid aura, he could reach the level he had attained before regressing. The signs of a graduator, a low-class graduator that usually required 30 years of training, were evident in him at the young age of 8. One of the techniques VIKIR learned was the piercing fang, which allowed seamless transitions between offense and defense without any growth limitations. However, this technique had an age limit for mastery. Nevertheless, if he put his 100% focus into it, he could utilize it for assassination purposes. VIKIR was aware that he couldn't show all of his newly acquired skills to Hugo and had to suppress his abilities, revealing only up to a certain limit. After thoroughly reading the books, VIKIR burned them using a lens, ensuring that his newfound knowledge remained a well-guarded secret. Upon completing his visit to the library, VIKIR paid a visit to Hugo, who asked him to demonstrate what he had learned during his time there. As VIKIR explained his discoveries, he felt a sharp and warm aura enveloping him, indicating that he had entered the realm of swordsmanship, a level of mastery typically unattainable at his age. Later that day, Hugo arranged a battleground and asked VIKIR to face an ORC with a risk rating of C. Orcs were known for their powerful regeneration abilities. However, the distinctive skill of the ORC, the high-speed regeneration, failed to activate due to the lingering hemorrhage caused by the B-class Hellhound from a previous encounter. VIKIR seized the opportunity and used the Aura Blade to swiftly eliminate the ORC, leaving everyone awestruck, convinced they had just witnessed the birth of a genius. Despite the impressive display, VIKIR wasn't fully satisfied with the outcome. He approached Hugo and requested something stronger, eager to challenge himself further and unlock even greater potential. Everyone present was stunned to hear such remarkable achievements from an 8-year-old. Hugo was impressed by VIKIR's skills and progress. Eager to showcase his abilities to Hugo and earn recognition by which he can request a course in a remote location, Hugo ordered the appearance of a troll, a formidable monster that VIKIR had captured during his last raid. VIKIR, though confident in his new power, knew that he had to be cautious with the troll due to its excellent regenerative abilities. He decided to stage the fight strategically, showing only a small slash on his arm to Hugo, while holding back his true potential. VIKIR demonstrated scenarios of leveling up through epiphany during the fight. As the troll unleashed its full potential, VIKIR employed his aura and executed his second technique, a feat that was typically achieved at the age of 18. This extraordinary display left everyone, including Hugo, stunned. An 8-year-old attaining the second technique was unprecedented. VIKIR's revelation confirmed that he had acquired the Baskerville second technique, making him a mid-rank sword expert, though in reality, he was a low-rank graduator who could still flawlessly perform the Baskerville fifth technique. Later that day, during dinner in the dining hall, the triplets approached VIKIR and admired his achievement. Amidst the appreciation, Hugo's butler, Barrymore, arrived, informing VIKIR of Hugo's request for his presence. In the castle, a meeting was held between Hugo and the Morgue clan patriarch, Adolphe Morgue, represented by proxy. They had gathered to conduct joint training sessions between the Morgue family and the Baskerville family. The past emperor had emphasized the complementary nature of magic and swords, which led to the joint training sessions. Children between the ages of 8 and 15 participated in these training sessions. However, recent conflicts over a ruby mine escalated tensions between the Baskerville and Morgue territories, resulting in spilled blood. Despite the ongoing dispute, they had to continue with the joint training sessions as per the Emperor's command. During the meeting, Adolphe learned about a supernova appearing in the Baskerville family, to which Hugo seemed nonchalant. He mentioned that even his clan had a supernova, a young girl named Camus, who was Adolphe's sister's daughter. Camus accused Hugo of being a thief who took their ruby mine and demanded its return. This irritated Adolf, and he muttered, "Annoying chin beard," under his breath, referring to Hugo. Unfazed by Camus' impolite behavior, Hugo urged Adolf to teach the young child some manners. Just then, VIKIR arrived in the meeting hall with the butler, and he immediately recognized Camus from his past life. She was known as the genius of the Morgue clan, who, at her peak, had single-handedly slain all the monsters, including barbarians, in the Lu Mountain, leaving a famous border of blood and ashes in her wake. Despite her captivating beauty and prowess, VIKIR knew that was all in the distant future for now. Camus created an ice hologram to explain her clan's claim over most of the ruby mine, arguing that it should be rightfully given to them. She also emphasized that rubies were primarily used by mages, rendering them worthless to swordsmen. In the midst of their conversation, VIKIR playfully pranked Camus by holding her hand and pretending to cut her arm with a knife. Adolf was taken aback and demanded that VIKIR explain what he was doing. VIKIR quickly showed her that it was just a harmless toy and a common joke often played within the Baskerville family. He sincerely apologized, explaining that he never intended to make her cry. Hugo smiled and advised Adolf, the patriarch, not to overly involve himself in child's play. He had an idea in mind regarding the ruby mine but first wanted to witness a friendly duel between the children of both clans, intending to test VIKIR and Camus' fighting abilities. Camus began the duel by summoning 3 magic circles, a challenging feat even for an adult mage. As she launched her attacks, VIKIR effortlessly dodged each one and suggested she focus on one attack to improve accuracy. In a display of superiority, VIKIR swiftly destroyed a mud wall created by Camus using earth magic, and then lightly flicked her head, demonstrating the Baskervilles' prowess. Frustrated, Camus attempted to overwhelm VIKIR by creating a 3-layered mud wall, challenging him to break through it. Once again, VIKIR easily smashed through the walls with a single hand and playfully flicked her head again. In her desperation, Camus resorted to using fire magic, but VIKIR didn't want to attract too much attention. He noticed a mage behind him carelessly throwing attacks without proper aim, and he took a few steps back to create some distance. Everyone was shocked by the explosion caused by Camus' magic during the duel. Thankfully, she was able to block most of the damage with protection magic, but her clothes were burnt by the fire magic. The smoke covered her, and she feared that once it cleared, people would see her in a humiliating state. In a caring gesture, VIKIR gave her his coat to cover herself. Later, in the hallway, Hugo asked VIKIR about the duel with Camus. VIKIR expressed that he found it enjoyable, but he had hesitated to use full force against a young girl. VIKIR was surprised that Hugo seemed to care about him, something entirely different from his previous life. VIKIR suggested giving the ruby mine to the Morgue clan, and Hugo appreciated his strategic thinking. VIKIR explained that the Baskerville clan's task was to develop the wilds and expand the borders, and by using the Morgue mine, they could minimize damage from the demonic creatures and barbarian clan. In the hallway, they encountered the head of the Morgue clan and engaged in a conversation. The Morgue clan proposed a betrothal between the two clans through a boy and girl, specifically, Hugo's eldest son and the Morgue clan's eldest daughter, who was praised for her looks and intelligence. However, both Hugo and Camus declined the proposal for different reasons. Eventually, the attention turned to VIKIR, who was half-blood but considered a supernova of the Baskerville clan. VIKIR accepted the offer, stating that he would do whatever was asked of him. Adolf didn't like the way VIKIR nonchalantly agreed to do whatever he was told. Hugo asserted that in the Baskerville clan, name and blood were irrelevant, and one's worth was solely determined by their individual skills. Adolf, a formidable six-circle master within the renowned mage clan and a great support officer, was still not satisfied with VIKIR, even though he was considered a supernova of the Baskerville clan. Adolf proposed a friendly match to test VIKIR's skills and see if he was worthy of marrying Camus. They settled in the same fighting ground where Adolf placed a pot full of water on his head and asked VIKIR to do whatever he could to try and spill even a single drop of water. Hugo was also eager to see how his child performed in this test, which was why he accepted the challenge in the first place. As the fight began, VIKIR rushed towards Adolf and struck his sword on the pot, but it was deflected by a shield magic. Adolf started using offensive magic against VIKIR, who skillfully dodged each attack and struck the same place on the shield repeatedly, causing it to weaken over time. Impressed by VIKIR's mechanical moves and strategy, Hugo suggested it could be an effective method against shield magic. As Adolf's concentration wavered, VIKIR's sword eventually broke the shield, and water started leaking through the pot. Camus was amazed, and her face turned red in embarrassment. Hugo admired his child's strength and skills, realizing that he was raising a much stronger hound than he had initially anticipated. Please like and subscribe, we'll upload next episode on 150 likes. Keep watching, keep smiling.